Coming up on All About Android this week, we discuss some subtle but important changes to the Play Store for developers. Huawei's Mate X is delayed once again. Assignable Reminders in Assistant, how HTC is licensing its brand name, your email, and what does Boise have to do with Android? Nothing. Up next on All About Android.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Mint Mobile. They provide the same premium network coverage you're used to, but at a fraction of the cost because everything is online. Mint Mobile makes it easy to cut your wireless bill down to just $15 a month with their 3-month introductory plan. And get the plan shipped to your door for free at mintmobile.com/Android. Well, hello there, and welcome to All About Android, episode 434, recorded on Tuesday, August 20th, 2019, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Boring Jason.
I'm Ron Richards, and you are not boring, sir.
Sorry, I was trying to bore it up.
And I'm flamboyantly Flo.
Yes, exactly. We need to counterpoint each other.
I know. I should have had an adjective for myself. Jason, I like you keeping us on our toes with a different voice for the intros. And Flo, you look like you could be hosting a children's show on PBS.
Maybe someday. Wouldn't that be the dream?
Yeah. Yep. You'd do well hosting a children's show wearing that sweater.
I think I would.
Good to see y'all.
Good to see you guys.
To be back in the seat, as it were. Of course, it looks really hot over there. It kind of looks like sweaty Ron right now.
Let me tell you, it's we're coming towards the end of it, I think, but it's been humid and like August, hot, New York City, subway platforms, not a good combination. It's steamy.
You saying that is making me sweat right now. Like,
yeah,
I can feel
I know.
it.
And you're wearing a sweater too, so that's probably part of the problem.
It's usually kind of.
I took my sweater off. It's so hot.
Good call. We've got some news to talk about. We've got some apps to talk about, some hardware to talk about. We've got an arena to participate in. You know, it is.
That's a diplomatic way of putting it.
We will participate in the arena.
Everyone participates.
Yes. It's just us today. So you're going to go down the rabbit hole with us. Of course, also Victor, who will play the news bumper right now.
Here's another rabbit hole. Well, the rabbit hole Jason's talking about, but we won't fail to inform you that it's Android news.
No, definitely.
I like it when Victor almost runs out of time. What's great is you could tell like the Android news bumper starts and there's like a pause and he's like, oh, he's still thinking of something to say. and then it gets towards the end and you hear the moment he's like, oh, I got to wrap this up.
Yeah, you can practically see the cane reaching across the stage and starting to pull him off. Great job, Victor. All right, Ron, you got the first one.
So big news out of the Google Play Store as Google is taking a page out of Apple's book. Google's actually making changes to the review process for apps and all app updates in the Play Store. So now all applications and app updates now are subjected to a review before publishing occurs. This process could take days. And it's more than likely that established high-profile, high-traffic developers will likely get a fast track. But even then, there's no way to expedite it for regular developers or even those high-profile developers. Devs won't know about the days-long review process until they actually try to publish something. So when you try to plan a release of an app, that becomes more difficult. And timing a release requires a workaround process, which can wreak havoc on promotional campaigns and make it even harder to manage your marketing and all that fun stuff. And this is coming off of Google addressing their dedication to cutting down on bad apps in the Play Store, as well as being more clear on major Play Store policy changes. And this is major because previously, the Google Play Store handled this algorithmically, where you submitted an app and it went through and it did an automatic check, and you were able to publish apps much faster. And then they had a review process if apps got flagged. But this is a lot like the Apple App Store, which, if anybody's ever worked in mobile development, when you submit an app to Apple, it goes to a physical person, and you're at the mercy of that person. And it can take days to be reviewed. You can get stuck in the queue. I've worked on projects where an app that was previously approved and then submitted gets rejected, not for the change in an update, but for something that's been in the app all along, just because a different set of eyes looked at it. So hopefully
fun.
Hopefully Google's taking a lesson from the frustration developers have had for years with Apple and make this a little more streamlined process. But whenever you introduce people into the mix, it's going to take longer and it's going to get more complicated. Guys, what do you think of this change? Do you think that all the malware has finally forced Google's hand and they need to do this?
I mean, I don't imagine that Google is going to have a human review every single flippin' app that goes through there.
So it sounds like.
Well, I think it's still unclear whether humans are going to look at all of them or whether humans are going to look at the hot kind of like flagged things that maybe a bot review is going to happen first and then humans go in. Humans, as if, I don't know, it sounds weird to me for whatever reason, but a human being would then review the things that kind of come back flagged by the bot. In reading kind of the posts about this, it was hard to discern whether this was going to be like 100% of apps all reviewed by humans or whether it's going to be just the things that come back with a trigger of some sort.
I took away that it's people. I took away that this is moving to a manual process. And maybe I'm reading into it based on what I know what Apple does and stuff like that. Yeah. But a review process to me means someone reviews it.
Yeah. Well.
So I don't know.
What do you think? You're
you could see the gears turning in my head because I'm just thinking about like the beginning of being an Android user and how it was such a wild west back when it was the Android marketplace, and it was such a wild west. And I remember back then I was covering Apple, and I remember that was it was frustrating for some developers to have to wait for Apple to do the approval process, but ultimately Apple has ended up better for it in the long run because their stuff is supremely vetted versus we've had a lot of stumbles in the Android world over the past couple of years, which has caused Google to do a lot of PR fixing and a lot of let's devote time in our keynotes talking about our security and what we're doing, and it just looks like they're just saying we can't do the automated process anymore of just having an algorithm, let's say, go in and verify this. We need to have actual people going in and using the apps and verifying the code and ensuring that there's nothing hidden in there. It's gonna annoy companies and developers who want to get an app out there. Also I already know, like, I wonder what the press releases are going to be like now because they can't be planned on a certain release date as they used to be. But what
do they do on iOS then? Because if there's a human process and you can't pinpoint, I mean, developers there are planning, right?
They say it should be out sometime this week or something. Like they'll give you like an estimated time of arrival. But to be honest, I feel like that's still the same in Android because it's even when updates push through, it's never for everybody at the same time.
Yeah.
So I just think ultimately this is the beginning of a very new direction for Google that we have to start accepting, because in order for them to continue reigning supreme, got to be able to wrangle in all those bad actors.
I think where I pulled, Ron, where I pulled my uncertainty in the Android police, it says article.
I've seen this as well.
Yeah, it says humans involved in every, quote, sensitive decision, which from a from a terminology perspective, that could mean everything. It could also mean just the things that are really hot. So I guess the fact is we don't actually know. But if it's going to take days, whereas before it could be like publish and within minutes you've got an app on the Play Store, that's a big difference, and that's an adjustment that developers and companies are going to have to make.
You know what's great is, and Victor, I just put the link in the doc. So where it seems, and from the Android Police article, this seems to stem from a developer kind of posting his experience with finding this information out. And actually, if you scroll down in that post, he's got the transcript of his chat with Google support, which. I mean, if you've ever lived through one of these Google support chats, you often wonder if it's actually a person on the other end or not. And if you want to be amused, I would recommend reading this, because it's definitely, you get the sense that the person knows what they're talking about, but it's also written, the Google bot or whatever, or the Google person is writing in a very metered tone, and it's very funny to read out loud. So if you're bored, do that.
Yeah. And Liz, who is on the chat, on that chat, as a representative of Google, says it should be quicker, but we recommend the 3 days just to be safe. So there's, it's kind of fluid, it seems like, as far as how long this is going to actually take. But it's a big difference from the way it has been. So we'll see how that affects things. I can imagine that's going to be a pain.
New era.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's almost after all the security stuff, and like if I see another article that's like 12 million Android users subject to malware, like all this sort of like these like clickbaity, sensationalistic blog posts. Clearly, they're trying to get ahead of that. They're trying to get around that, and they're trying to limit these bad apps and these bad actors in there that are giving Android a bad name. So I'm just surprised. I mean, how many years since Android launched? We're at like 7-8 years. It took this long. I thought, I'm impressed that they were able to, go this long without it.
Yeah. Well, in other news, Google's making some changes to its data sharing of network coverages on Android devices. They would share data with global wireless carriers. They're going to stop this, apparently, in an effort to avoid the ire of regulators and also of users' attention around data sharing, that sort of stuff. The data was provided to basically allow wireless carriers to understand their own network coverage on devices, and you would opt into this. So it would be one of those things, in the beginning when you're setting things up, you would opt into this. It would be anonymized, and it launched in 2017. It was called Mobile Network Insights, and basically provided like a coverage map of how Android devices were performing on their network. So things like signal strength, speed, comparisons to unnamed competitors, this sort of stuff. A lot of information, but also anonymized, thankfully, so that's good. But I think Google is just a little concerned about where this could head. They've dealt with their own snafus in location, from the perspective of tracking location, even when it's turned off. They're dealing with the EU and regulatory risk there and in the US. So this might just be them getting out ahead of it. It might also just be saving them some effort and work, maybe, because I think I also read that like the quality of the data wasn't really making much of an impact. So there you go. So I think when I first read this, I was like, wow, this is a potential to be big news. But then I think in the end, it's kind of like, okay, well, I guess that probably makes sense. Google wants to tighten its ship a little bit, and they have many reasons to.
Yeah. Isn't that, I feel like that's the overall arching, the thesis of the first two news items of our news block, which is that Google's just reining itself in a little bit.
Yep.
Make things
grown up. They're getting Google all grown up. That's what I say.
Google all grown up.
Oh.
Google all grown up.
All grown up.
All grown up. You know what grown-ups love to do?
What?
Grown-ups love to play video games because we have the money to buy them.
Yeah, that's true. It is true.
It's true. Now, you don't have to build a PC in this day and age to play video games. You could just load them on a phone. That's the kind of technology we have coursing through right now. So Nvidia announced that it's bringing its GeForce Now service to Android devices soon. GeForce Now is NVIDIA's cloud gaming service. It's been in beta on the Shield TV, but that free beta is nearing its end. It's recommended that you use a full gamepad when it launches. These are basically games running off of cloud NVIDIA GPU servers. So having all those buttons will make playing the games a little bit easier.
Just a little bit.
Not clear if it'll work over LTE or 5G, which is one of the promises of 5G when it comes. And there's no price or date, but it's definitely a reaction to the recent news of Google Stadia, as well as the Microsoft xCloud service. So this is kind of the new, I find it very interesting that we've come back around to this years later, because years ago there were services offering this, but they were through a specific set-top box or device, like a separate device that you would hook up to your TV, but this is now through what is essentially an Android TV box, which is the Shield, or the smartphone that you already have in your hand.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, it's no different than the scenario that you outlined, Flo, before. It's just a different box that is coming through. But I think what's interesting now is that box is a lot more affordable and a lot more powerful, in a smaller, footprint. And now it's like, it's amazing to see all these kind of cloud-based kind of things cropping up. And it's almost like, streaming video services a couple of years ago. Like once Netflix and Hulu kind of said, oh, hey, you can do this, then you had all, Go 90 from Verizon. You had all these, all these other kind of video platforms emerge. And now we're seeing the same trend with games, is that you got to be, if the commerce is moving from physical media of games into a console from downloadable games now to streaming games, the best way to be involved in it is to have one of these services and try to hope you can build a user base.
Yep.
Yeah. Someone in the chat asked if this would work on a Chromebook. Robot in chat asked that. I don't believe so. So that's one way where a service like Stadia will work.
We'll see.
Oh, it's Robbot.
I
always thought it was robot, and he just capitalized ROB. Oh, clever, Rob. All these years of Robot in the chat room.
I think it's either or.
Robot. Yeah, okay. Now, there you go. There's a little chat room shout out for you. Those listening at home. If you watch live on twit.tv, you can participate in the chat. It's fun.
You go. And every once in a while, we'll call you out on the show. I have to imagine, just from a general perspective, that playing these types of games on your small smartphone screen could be kind of challenging.
Wait, what does it say that it doesn't work, the GeForce Now on a Chromebook? Does it say it's not coming out as a Chrome app? Because remember, we got Android apps on these things.
Well, that's true.
I mean,
maybe you could run the Android.
The CPU really matter. Well, actually, the CPU actually would matter for the streaming, right?
It would matter very much.
I'm just guessing, man. If they aren't clearing it for Chrome OS,
I'll
and then
find a
you
way.
Install an Android app onto your Chromebook. I'm just guessing it's not going to be as ideal as one would hope, but maybe.
Let's put Flo on the case. Flo, why don't you find out about this and report back next week?
Okay. All right. I'll send some emails.
All right, good. Detective Flo.
Right.
Hey,
Detective
don't
Flo.
make me take my Detective Pikachu hat out.
Okay, I won't. Believe me.
Don't add that to the sweater. That'd be. So if you are looking for new ways to share files, Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo have something that you might be interested in. The three companies are teaming up to create a local file sharing protocol that all three manufacturers will support together. The new protocol pairs via Bluetooth and transfers via Wi-Fi at up to 20 megabyte per second. And this is basically what Android Beam did. But Android Beam is gone with Android Q. If you remember, it came out in 2011 on Android 4 Ice Cream Sandwich. Android Q includes a new fast share feature in the share menu. That's basically an Android Beam replacement. But it's a Play Services feature, so you need to use Google Play Services to use it.
Right.
So therefore, Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo are collaborating to come up with a non-Google Play Services solution, which, if anything, we talked about fragmentation in the marketplace with hardware years ago and fragmentation with UIs. Now fragmentation is going to come within Google Play Services or not Google Play Services, and it's fascinating to watch it play out like in this way.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense to me that they would team up on this. Kind of a bummer that Android Beam was going away. I don't know. I haven't really tested out fast share on Android Q. I guess this functionality, like, it's been there forever. I never use it.
Here's the thing. We'll never, ever be able to participate in airdrop memes. Because we're Android users, which may be a blessing and both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, AirDrop is a pretty popular thing in the iOS Apple realm. I'm just kind of surprised that it never, that popularity never seemed to jump over to the Android version of that. Why is that?
Because
is it fragmentation? Is it just?
I never understood why AirDrop was interesting in the iOS side of things. Like the only time I've heard in my social circle of AirDrop being used is people in airports who are bored trying to connect to strangers and dropping in funny.
It was between Mac and iOS. Having that file transfer between Mac and iOS to just like drag and drop is pretty awesome.
That is pretty cool. No, but phone to phone though, I've never been in a scenario where, and I could see if I was on the road and I was a salesperson and I had a deck and I had to share it with somebody and you wanted to get it to them quickly. But like with LTE and Wi-Fi speeds, what they are, I just send it via Slack or via email.
What about between
Google Drive,
Chrome?
Or Google Drive.
I want to have it between Chrome and Android. Chrome OS and Android. I want to be able to drag and drop files from Android and just have it appear on Chrome, because right now it is a pain to try and get files from one end to the other, and Google Drive is still it's got its kinks.
I don't know. I mean, uploading to Google Drive and downloading from Google Drive works for me, and also just uploading to myself on Slack has been great.
Have you tried doing it with podcasts? Because I'll tell you, that stuff takes a while.
Larger file. No, but even then, no. I mean, I just transferred like 150 meg file the other day, and it all depends on your data connection. That's the thing, and the proximity of where you're trying to drop to. But I think this is a very much edge case. But in Asia, who knows? They do crazy things with their phones. Maybe this is a big thing. They're transferring Pokemons and Bitcoin.
Yeah,
I don't know.
All over the place. They're trading their Detective Pikachus and.
Yeah.
That Pokemon card is very valuable, by the way. It's kind of a bummer. This is only going to be between these three families, like just this particular family of phones.
Which will hit none of us in a small,
none of us, but still a lot.
Yes, our listeners and our viewers will, in some regions, will be able to enjoy this. We will not.
What will be interesting if someone like Samsung did this, or a phone manufacturer that has a large footprint but doesn't want to be married to Google Play services in the States, but everyone's on Google Play services, so maybe not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We got an email from Scott. I feel like we get this email every 3 or 4 weeks. It's something along these lines, and it's just always fun to read them. As I continue to hear people on yours and other Android podcasts go on and on about all the issues with gestures regarding UI compatibility and conflicts, user confusion, and the difficulty in having to learn and relearn all these hidden navigation methods, I just continue to want to scream at manufacturers. The solution is buttons. Honest to goodness, legit, real buttons. What on earth is so horrible about buttons? People understand buttons. They're always visible, they don't get in the way of apps and UI elements, and they often work when fake on-screen buttons, air quotes, don't due to some software glitch. I am more than happy to trade bezel for actual buttons, and voila! All these ridiculous issues the gestures have are gone. This misguided crusade for zero bezels continues to come at the compromise of screen quality, notches, and usability. It seriously needs to stop, and manufacturers need to cease just changing things up for the sake of change so they can sell you a new phone. Signed, Scott.
Wow. Drop the mic, Scott.
Yeah. It's a nice rant.
Physical buttons break.
How often have you had a phone with a physical button and the button broke?
Nope. No, probably. I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of a counter. I'm trying to think of a devil's advocate counterpoint argument. I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, physical buttons break and on-screen buttons sometimes don't work too. But I mean, even think about that. Like, I remember when the transition started to go away from physical to capacitive on-screen buttons.
You mean from
and then
from little scrolly
I missed the trackball.
Oh, the Nexus One trackball
already.
Scrolly trackball thingy.
Yes.
Yeah, but I remember when the transition went from physical to virtual, and that was the big concern was, but then what happens when the software locks up and that button doesn't work anymore? And then when I really think through my history with Android, I don't know that I've really encountered that, but maybe a couple of times.
I think I count on one hand that the quote unquote software locked.
Yeah,
on me,
totally.
Right? Yeah, like it's amazing because I remember, Jason, because we talked about it.
Yeah,
we did. To on-screen buttons, and it was like. It was a crisis of like, oh God, how is this going to work? And can we do it? It's a dot and it's not a real button and all this sort of stuff. And now I don't even think about it. Again, It's one of these evolutions that we've gone on. And now we have more screen real estate because of it.
Yeah, totally. I guess everybody has their preferences, Scott included. So Scott, thank you for sending us your rant. It's always fun to read rants on this show.
I have buttons on my steering wheel that no longer work because a fuse blew out in my car.
Oh, well, that's an entirely different issue. You need to get a touchscreen in your car.
No, let's not go down that road again.
All right, let's not. We'll get another rant that we'll have to read.
And people agree with me, so.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. Thank the sponsor, and then we will get into a whole bunch of other news. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're still using one of the big wireless providers in 2019, have you asked yourself what you're paying for? Between expensive retail stores, inflated prices, hidden fees, basically you're being taken advantage of because they know you're going to pay. And that's where Mint Mobile comes in. Mint Mobile provides the same premium network coverage you're used to, but at a fraction of the cost because everything is online. Mint Mobile saves on retail locations and overhead, then passes those savings directly to you. I've been on Google Fi. I almost called it Project Fi. That's how long I've been on it. It's now Google Fi. I've been on there for quite a while. I actually ported my number over to Mint Mobile because I really wanted to test kind of like connectivity and network and all this stuff. And it's as if I did not switch. Like literally my phone works everywhere. I'm used to it working. I have amazing coverage. I'm really loving it. Mint Mobile makes it easy to cut your wireless bill down to just $15 a month with our 3-month introductory plan. Every plan comes with unlimited nationwide talk and text. With Mint Mobile, you'll stop paying for unlimited data you'll never use because you can choose between plans with 3, 8, or 12 gigs of 4G LTE data to use. You use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. That's exactly what I did. So you can ditch your old wireless bill and start saving with Mint Mobile. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month with their 3-month introductory plan and get the plan shipped to your door for free, all you have to do is go to mintmobile.com/Android. That's mintmobile.com/Android. You can cut your wireless bill to $15 a month with their 3-month introductory plan. One more time, mintmobile.com/Android. Check it out like I did, and I think you're going to like it. And we thank Mint Mobile for their support of All About Android. And we've got a few things in the hardware section to toss around like a hot potato. Let's do it.
You can't do the food metaphors at this time in Pacific time because now I'm imagining like a baked potato with like the fixings, and
Baked potato
my
topped
stomach
with a mint leaf.
Stop it!
I don't know that a baked potato with a mint leaf would be very good.
But I was
one of those baked potatoes with like a half an inch slab of butter on top of it.
A pat of butter.
Oh,
it just starts
like
melting over the side.
Okay.
A butter so big it has a zip code.
And large crystals of salt sprinkled over the top.
A little scallion, maybe? Or,
yes.
Gosh, that's what it is. Yeah, the little green, yeah.
Herbs and spices.
Herbs. Okay, speaking of herbs, not speaking of herbs, but speaking of companies that start with the letter H.
There we go. That works.
Just to keep it in there.
All right.
So you may have heard just around the river bend that Huawei is delaying its foldable Mate X smartphone. This news kind of came out in the midst of some like other semi like political news that's been going around. But let's just focus here on Huawei. So it's unlikely that the Mate X will hit before November. This is the second delay since it's been announced / shown off, because we have seen it around. Definitely the Huawei ban in the US is at least part of the reason why. There we go, bring it around to the Politico. Huawei is taking the time to tweak the design of some aspects of the device ahead of launch, specifically the hinge and hinge lock button. I personally wonder if this has anything to do with some of the Samsung.
Oh, for sure. Well,
so
no one wants to go through that experience.
Yeah, I think after seeing what maybe happened, they were like, let's have a meeting. So Huawei says it should be the last delay as it targets the holiday season. But as with these things, we always say, let's just wait and see.
We shall wait and see.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get one of these in our hands.
Man, Foldable has not gone the way I'd hoped this year.
No,
it came out with a bang, but it was like
and it's ending with a whimper. I mean, I want to go back to, I don't know if we did a prediction show, if we talked about this. I feel like saying 2019 will be the year of the Foldable was something that would have come out of my mouth.
Well,
and if it did, I really hope that I didn't say that. But
I'm gonna go back in time here. Gonna go back in time.
Oh, he is actually.
Let's
He's going
see
back
here.
in time.
Oh,
that was the best stuff. I mean, you bring it up, so we might as well. You remember this was episode 400 on December 18th.
It was 3 a.m. when I was filming this.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And you know what? We did not do predictions on this episode.
No, we did a game show.
We did a game show, Hot or Not.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Oh, we did Hot or Not. Yeah, I was in studio for that.
What are you using? iPhone versus Android, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, just generally chatting with our friends Gina Trapani, Chad Johnson, and Brian Burnett.
So we learned from our years of experience not to make bold, crazy predictions, which is good because years ago I would have said 2019 was going to be the year of the foldable, and I would have been very wrong.
We probably would have all said something similar, like this is the year the foldables becomes more of a household name, and maybe it is more of a household name, just not for the right reasons.
So Samsung, remember, had teased us about it last November during their Samsung Developers Conference, which is held annually here in the Bay Area. Because I recall specifically a foldable behind inches of glass that was on display at the Moscone Center. So we kind of knew what we were getting into to 2019, and I think 2019 has become more realistically the year of the 5G hype.
Yeah, you're right.
That's definitely stuck around more, and maybe 2020 will be the year foldables actually launch.
I mean, actually, 2019 has been the year of hype. Foldables hype,
a lot of hype,
5G hype, but still nothing really proving itself.
But still,
and
everybody
a lot
just
of
wants a regular
skepticism.
But going back to the foldable, I'd rather see Huawei delay it and get it right than roll it out like Samsung did and botch it. So, good for them. Good for them and not rushing to, get to market with a flawed product.
Yes. However, at the same time, when you've delayed like almost an entire calendar year before a product comes out, then now you're releasing this cutting edge product with a nearly dated like processor on the inside, and you've got to contend with that very soon after, the new year. So
where's the early adopters now?
Yeah, and you're paying twice as much for this phone, by the way, so than you normally would on a premium phone. So,
crazy.
We'll see.
You want to know what's also crazy? There's a new HTC phone.
Really?
How about that?
They're making phones?
I don't know if I like the name of it, though, as a Californian.
I know we've been wondering what's up with HTC ever since Google strategically invested them, and we're getting a lot of Pixel. You haven't seen a lot of stuff. Well, now the HTC Wildfire X is out. But here's the catch. Here's the catch. It's not actually an HTC phone. It's actually a phone built by a company called In1 Smart Technology, and they've licensed the HTC brand to release this in the India market. Because I guess HTC is a known brand there. I of all brands to license, HTC I find very funny. So In1 predominantly sells in India with its Lava brand, where its Lava brand phone once performed well before Xiaomi and Huawei came in and dominated it. They're trying to get back in the game, but by leveraging HTC's brand. And the HTC Wildfire X is a low-end device that sells for around $140. So within that market, that's a pretty low-end device. So good for HTC in selling their logo and slapping it on a low-end phone.
Making some money the only way they can. I don't know. It's
strange. Californians trauma. Thanks.
Yeah,
the world is strange.
Kind of seems like In1 is just trading one brand that isn't working anymore for another brand that isn't working anymore.
In1 for another.
Oh, In1 for another. Okay, kind of. Yeah, sort of.
I do think it's interesting how these specific regions, like there are companies that go in and go, let's make a bucket of cash.
Yeah.
And just piggyback. I mean, Nokia, HMD Global's kind of doing the same thing. And
but they're doing it well.
Yeah.
Like HMD Global is actually making some movement with the Nokia brand. And we were screwed, critical of that in the beginning, and they've kind of proved that they can actually, I mean, I don't know how Nokia fan boys and girls really feel about the new Nokia
Nostalgia
brand.
is a heck of a drug.
But yes,
as we know from this show and me. And I noticed, with all the reboots that have been coming around, that maybe this is what will happen with phones as well.
Yeah,
brands, tech brands. Do you remember back in the day?
What I find really interesting is that there's enough of a market for people who just don't know or care and identify with a logo. Like that's what the Nokia thing. I mean, the Nokia thing goes. This HTC thing goes, where they're like, "Oh, I recognize that. That's good." And we know that under the hood it's something different, and maybe it's something not as good, or just something not originally made by then. But it doesn't matter anymore.
No one else knows.
It's fascinating.
They don't
fascinating.
Care.
They don't care.
Yeah, totally. Completely agree. The Oppo Renault 2 follows on the heels of the recently released Oppo Renault 10X Zoom Edition. That was the one that had the periscope zoom camera on the inside. Remember when that was all the hotness? And we're like, all these phones are going to come out with periscope zooms. It was actually a really cool feature and cool way to get like a nice high quality zoom. Well, apparently this one is touting 20 times zoom with 4 rear cameras. We only really have like a little promotional teaser to go off of. It's coming first to India. No word on whether like the 20X actually refers to the kind of hybrid approach, whether it has the periscope in order to pull it off. I have to imagine it does if this is a sequel to the other phone that had it and it was a success. So we'll probably see the return of the periscope. And it will, for those who followed Oppo's pop-out cameras and the nice little triangular design of them, very unique and very characteristic of Oppo's approach to the pop-out camera, this will have that too. So you're safe. I don't know. It kind of looks like a hairdo on the top, doesn't it? Like a stylish hairdo that's a Bobby Brown hairdo. So Victor said his Bobby Brown hairdo. I can see that. Yeah, it's got a nice.
I was gonna say flock of seagulls because it's asymmetrical.
Flock of seagulls is a lot more involved there, Flo.
It would be a much bigger pop-out camera if it was flock of seagulls.
And flock of seagulls wouldn't have anything in the center. It'd be on the outs. It's on the outside. That the flock of seagulls haircut goes out like that. I don't know.
Or it's a Dylan McKay front bang up.
Okay.
All right.
I'm reaching.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yes.
It's a hairdo of some
Bobby Brown
sort.
Nailed it. Bobby Brown totally nailed it.
Yeah.
Or Vanilla Ice. That could be Vanilla Ice too.
Bam. That girly pose. That probably wasn't Bobby Brown. I don't know.
No, that was Belle Biv DeVoe.
Oh, okay, thank you. Whew. I'm happy you knew that, Ron.
That girl is poison. Poison.
I was from Boise, Idaho, so I always thought they were saying Boise. Boise.
You know what? I'm going to let you guys have that. You deserve that.
Boise. Oh, man. What a nerd. All right, it's time for some app news. Save us, Victor.
That's too funny. Boise.
Because let me tell you, in the 80s, pop stars, they were writing songs about Boise, Idaho. Oh, yeah. It's true.
All right.
All right, you got it.
The words that I'm trying to say. The words that I'm trying to say about a new Google Assistant feature. That was my phone that just fell to the floor in case anybody heard that, because my phone is made of glass.
Can't wait to find out how it is.
So the Google Assistant is getting a new feature coming soon to a assistant-driven device near you. Assignable Reminders. This is to really help the family and the household get into the groove of people doing what they need to be doing.
Boy,
Think
you gotta
of this
move.
as the new chore chart, the new chore wheel. So you can set reminders, for other users. You can say things like, hey, G, remind Ron to talk about pinball on the show. Hey, G, remind Jason to send Wade County the poll results. Or, hey, G, remind Flo to derail the beginning of All About Android by talking about her favorite show, 90210.
Good reminder.
Yes. So the reminder will appear on smart displays and speakers and phones for those users. So the speaker, I'm imagining, would do its little doo-doo. There's a reminder for this person. And then the phone would pop up with a reminder in the notification shade. You can also ask, hey, G, what are my reminders for the certain person? And it will bring them up on screen, and on a smart display, you'll be able to have the evidence right there in front of you.
Nice.
They can also be location-based. I would have to dive into that. I mean, I'm guessing when you get home, it would give you a certain reminder like, hey, take out the trash. You're home now.
The example they gave was something like, hey, remind so-and-so to pick up something when they get to the airport or something like that. And so then their location tracks them to the airport and they pick up
I didn't make that connection.
Souvenir or something like that.
That's a good one, actually. Hey, remind so-and-so when they get to school to not leave their lunchbox behind.
Yeah.
I guess, if your kid has a phone. It only supports those in a family group or accounts linked on the same smart display / speaker, and the recipient must be in your Google contacts. So
nice. I like that.
Contact for. Would you use this for your household? Get the girls to do their chores? I would use. I'm definitely going to use this with my husband.
I would try it. I feel like, yeah. I mean, I could see my wife using this for me to remind me of things that I dropped the ball on.
Well, I use it for we use it on my name right now. So like if we need to get like the cat has medicine we have to order every month.
Yeah. And you could use a subscription that.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
Okay. Right.
Unfortunately, because life. Yeah. But what we do is we set a reminder for me, and then I have to remind him to do.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, but what happens is he says just set the reminder, and then he'll hear it. It'll say there's a reminder for Flo, and he'll know that was the reminder that he made.
I don't buy it.
So but it's too confusing. So at least now,
although he's watching, so I'm sorry. But I don't buy it.
I'm waiting for my Hangout message to come
I know
through.
it's coming any second now.
Baiting him.
I like this. This is definitely the move Google is doing. I mean, these are supposed to be family / household devices. They're really trying to make Assistant be the helpful little robot between you and the people that you live with.
Yeah.
So,
Bleak, I like your question. I think it's appropriate. Can you set a level of passive aggression? You know, a little bit of a twinge of passive aggressive into. It's probably a good idea that it's not there.
Can I just turn this around real quick, just to like give my husband some kudos on things that I do wrong
before you hear from him?
Yeah, the thing that I need to be reminded of is to wash out my coffee cup, because after I'm done with my coffee, I never wash it out, and then the leftover like ground seeps in there, and then it gets stuck, and then you have to like.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So I should be reminded of that, like at 11 a.m. every morning. Like, remember to put water in your cup.
It's a good one. Hopefully he's listening and he'll set that up. He can report back and let us know how that goes. All right, Ron.
I just wanted to watch all that happen. So let me ask you guys something. If I told you there was a lighter, faster way to search, would you be interested in that?
I'd be interested in installing it. Sure.
All right. Well, you might want to check out Google Go.
Okay.
Which is now available worldwide. It is a lighter, faster way to search Google. It is a 7 meg total app. It's very lightweight, and it's designed initially for low-power devices. And even though it is lightweight and a small data footprint on the app itself, they recently added lens functionality that includes on-screen and audio translation, and it supports voice search and can read the pages aloud to you for accessibility, which makes you wonder what is taking up all the megabytes in the regular Google app, because lens and voice search, it seems like it would take more than 7 megabytes to get that in there, but they've crunched it all down in Google Go. If you're looking for a lightweight app, and if you got a low power device, I could see this being big in developing regions where with less less performance devices like ours. But still, it's if you're looking for a lighter, faster way to access Google, this could be the way to go.
Yeah, I got it running right here.
It doesn't have Assistant, does it?
Well, no, I guess not embedded in the search.
Yeah, you have Assistant in the OS, right?
So I can allow, what do you want to search for? Tap the mic when you're ready. Okay. No, so it doesn't look like it has Assistant embedded into here. Right. But yeah, you've got your little lens. I could do that to take a picture of something. Sure, I'll take a picture of that little thing.
This is the hole.
There's no way that it's going to identify what the heck that was. But yeah, it's just like more streamlined. It's got a little bit of search history down here. What's that? What
if you take a picture of my watch?
Oh,
if you want to test it.
Here. Sure.
Just put it on the table.
It's always fun to do a little.
Well, take a picture of your keyboard. Take a picture of your keyboard. It will detect the words in the keyboard.
No, take another photo.
Yeah, see, it's looking for words. Yeah, it's looking for words. It's not Google Lens like image search. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I should have brought a Romanian magazine or something for you to translate.
Search
I didn't even think about
Search
that.
all those.
Which is it's surprising because Flo is usually never found without a Romanian magazine under her arm. So
that's actually true, because I just they take me forever to get through them.
because they're in Romanian.
This is the email from our email blog. Oh, sorry. Anyways, it took a snapshot of my screen, and it was just playing back in audio form the email that we'll get to in a few minutes.
It detected a lot of those words, by the way.
Yeah, it did from pretty far. They were pretty small.
Yeah, that was actually really quite
kind of impressive. Not bad at all.
So.
Thank you for your watch. I'm sorry I didn't identify it.
It didn't want to. It's a Samsung
collector's
watch.
item. Yeah, right. Heck no, I'm not identifying
What ecosystem is that? I'm sorry.
You guys like ebooks? Like, aren't ebooks the hot new thing?
I'm excited about this. Next news, and I will explain why.
Okay, apparently you can rent ebooks now in the Google Play Store. $2-3 seems to be the going rate. You get like a 3-day rental. I guess I've just never thought of like wanting to rent a book for 3 days.
That's a lot of pressure to finish a book in 3 days.
Yeah, it really is. And if you need to do it again, then you paid for the book.
It's actually shorter than going to the library for a book or an ebook. Because I think
all I'd have to say is that if I rented the new Neil Stephenson novel, I would have probably paid for it several times over, considering it's taking a very long time to finish all those. These last 200 pages are just a slog.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe at that point you just give up on it, I guess.
No, I'm not giving up.
Okay.
I will finish it.
All right. I don't know. The selection is not very good. But that's my opinion. It just seems very small. It seems like maybe this is more like a test thing. It's not like everything in the Google Play books is now available for renting. They had a small kind of carousel of books that you could rent, and we just haven't seen that before.
I like that. I like this. I like this feature because I am constantly buying books that I never read. So
now you can rent them.
Well, I would
read
rather.
them.
You can rent them and not read them.
Right.
Well, I would like to see this integrated with libraries. I think would be.
Well, yeah. Well,
There
I mean,
was
if
some
you
sort of
want
API
library,
or
I mean, you should look into the Hoopla app, or there's talk to your local library. Probably has an ebook solution that allows you to rent ebooks through the library. But honestly, what I would love to see is that if Google adopted some sort of Amazon Prime like unlimited reading club option, where you pay $5 a month, $10 a month, and you can have all the books that you want. That would be something that would be more interesting than just renting an ebook for 3 days.
Well, okay, so I've got running on my Pixel here the app we've had in the show many times, Libby.
Yep. Victor recommends that as well.
Yeah, in the library from my local library in the collection, Crazy Rich Asians, the book. I can borrow it, and then borrow. I'm gonna go ahead and borrow this right now. I am borrowing for 21 days, open book, and
for free.
Yeah, I can just jump right into it and start reading. So, and you're not gonna find this book for rent for $3 on Playbooks.
Yeah.
But, so keep that in mind. You might have
$3, huh?
Libby is a great one. Hoopla is another one. Talk to your local library; they'll tell you which app they align with and which one works.
If you go to the library, it's free because your taxes pay for it.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
just a pro tip.
Oh, my daughter loved this book. It was a very good book. Okay, so there you go. Libby is the antidote to paying $3 to rent a book for 3 days. You got the first email.
I do have the first email. My name is on there. Hey guys. This comes from Mike. Hey guys. I think Samsung made a mistake in naming the new Note 10. I think it should have been just Note 10 for the larger Note 10 Plus and Note 10e for the smaller Note 10. By naming the smaller Note as 10e, it would have been better received by tech reviewers and acceptable to consumers. Just my humble opinion. Thank you, Mike. I like your opinion because here's why I like your opinion. Whoa.
Sorry.
I'm leaning in as well too.
I had to lean in enough to get in the camera shot, and it ended up being kind of uncomfortable. Sorry.
Well, I just know you're fine. I just like the idea of. I think the S10 and S10 Plus, the major difference between the the regular S10 and S10 Plus was size. And I think the point Mike is trying to make here is that the S10e, had a slight difference in features than the other S10s. So what Mike is trying to say here is that the Note 10 also has a difference in features than the Note 10 Plus, and that's not really advertised through the naming convention, because you think you're just getting a bigger device, but you're also getting a slight difference in feature set.
Yeah, and it's hard. I think it's particularly hard with the Note brand because it's been billed for many years now as like the best of the best, that Samsung has to offer, and now they have a best of the best of the best, which is the 10 Plus, and then the best of the best, but not quite better than the best of the best of the best. Does that make sense?
What if they just call it?
That's a lot of nested bests.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't they just call it the Note 10 Best?
The best, the best.
Good, better, best.
The best of what's left.
Well, because do you want to buy a phone that's called good or better? Like
no.
Yeah, I guess marketing.
Yeah.
The Samsung Note, okay.
Yeah. So if the smaller Note was called the 10e, based on how the 10e, the S10e was received, do you think that would have changed kind of opinions around the kind of lower tier Note?
You know what? That's a good point, Jason. I wonder if the E, there's a connotation with it that E is for like economical. And you know what I mean?
And there's nothing economical about a Note. So
well, and the idea of the Note is it's supposed to be, again, the best of the best.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be the cream of the crop.
Yes.
The cherry on top.
Uh-huh.
That's why you're spending all this money on it. And that's why you wait until August for this thing to come out, because it's going to be just like you're going to have the best before the next S whatever comes out. The next Galaxy S comes out. So using that E would connotate like, meh. This is just kind of like an economy phone.
Yeah, right.
So I think that was just a lesson in marketing.
Sure.
Just put forth.
Samsung keeps experiencing lessons in marketing, for better or for worse. But I don't think it was really a failure. I did notice that there was a lot of people writing an opinion around the smaller Note and just being like, doesn't have all these things, and I wonder if they had done the E approach, if it would have changed things. Certainly would have paved the way for like reviewers who are used to kind of living in this world and already accepted the S10e as being kind of the step down, and saying actually this is a pretty great phone. Taking that experience, applying it to the Note, maybe it would have changed kind of the dynamic around it.
Well, and the
E
also has a price difference.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Totally.
All right. Well, we got another email from friend of the show, Tyler Hilliard.
Yes.
And he writes in and says, so much for Google getting back to updating this regularly. And what he's referring to is on the developer site on Android, the dashboard showing penetration of operating systems. And if you remember earlier this year, it had gone a very, very long time since being updated. And the link here that we're looking at on the screen now, if you're watching the video, shows that this is the update as of May 7th. And actually what Tyler does with this information when they do update it is he makes these fantastic looking charts and graphs on the Android versions over time site, which Victor, if we can pull up, he's added something. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, well, first off, you see all his graphs about the breakdown and where we are in terms of comparing it to other releases and change since past reporting. But in the upper right-hand corner, a little snarky Tyler, he adds days since data last provided.
Yeah. Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, it shows it's been 105 days since Android and Google has revealed what the operating system market penetration is, or our device penetration is. So hopefully we'll get another update before Q rolls out, so we can get a real sense of exactly how far the other operating systems have come.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's a bummer. I think we hoped that that Google would continue to put out this information, but I guess not.
I still subscribe to my theory that it's like one dude at Google who does it, and he's been on vacation or he's been working on another project, and someone's like, "Oh crap, I gotta update that."
He's on sabbatical.
Right, or he's gone and no one's taking it over. Yeah, exactly. So
like,
who knows?
What? Oh, yeah. we haven't done that in a while.
Yeah. So hopefully, since we know most of Google watches this show, hopefully somebody goes, "Hey, we should update this page."
I was going to say someone should file a support ticket.
Yeah. But this is also an opportunity to just take a look at Tyler's wonderful work here, because it really is a beautiful page. It's such a cool visualization.
Rainbow, like my sweater.
Yes, it really is. The colors of your sweater keep appearing throughout this show. Tyler is in sync with. That was unintentional.
Yeah, I was just gonna let that one slide.
That was unintentional. I fully admit, but true nonetheless.
Bye.
Android.hilliard.digital, I think, is how you can get to that. Although if you go there, if you want to see those charts, if you go there, it doesn't take you directly to the charts. So I would say just hit the show notes at twit.tv/AAA once tonight's episode is posted, and there in the show notes for today's episode, you will find a link. It's longer than the one that I just said, and it takes you directly to the charts that Tyler does, and it's pretty cool to look at. Thank you for your work, Tyler. All right, now it is time for us to participate in the arena.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
We will each get participation points. This is how this works now. Everybody gets a medal. Everybody gets a prize.
It's a competition.
It's a competition. Okay, so taking a look at last week's winner, and the non-winners. There can only be one, and that one is Cores with 30%. That is Team Guest. Ryan Whitwam was on last week and brought Cores. It is a fun game, I have to admit. Second place is Before Launcher.
Oh, nice.
There you go. With 27%. Third place is Monument Browser at 24%. And fourth place, I wasn't really that surprised. Sandbox Pixel Coloring, 17%. You guys just don't like to color. Whatever.
All right. So with those results through 32 weeks, Flo, you are still in first place, although you are benefiting by not having a guest this week, because you're in first place with 97 points and the guests are in second with 95 points.
Oh,
so
boy.
that lead that you were just sitting on and just like on top of the hill, it's dwindling now, Flo. So be warned. You better bring your A game.
So yeah, it's a close battle between first and second, and then close battle between third and fourth.
Exactly, Jason. There's a 30-point differential between first place and third place. Jason's in third with 67 points, and I'm in last at 64 points. But, things can flip-flop very easily, but guests will not gain on Flo this week. So fascinating. I also would like to point out that I was the one when Jason said, "Hey, do we want to guest tonight?" I was like, "No, let's do it with just us," not realizing that would benefit Flo. So I'm kicking myself now.
Oh, I see how it is.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Flo.
True colors shining through.
Yeah, true. So I guess I go last.
You go last. Yeah. The natural order of the doc today. I don't have to shift things around. I'll go first because I am the returning loser. I know you don't like it when I say that. But I mean it so like I lost. No, I'm not saying I am a loser. I'm just saying I'm the returning loser of last week's thing. It's okay. I'm okay with it. My app. So I went on a backpacking trip this last week.
You did? How did it go?
It was amazing for a number of reasons. I had never done that before, and it was, beautiful and dangerous at times, and it was awesome. Like I have to say, I had a blast. But while I was there, I was with one of my friends is in the solar industry. And we had this amazing spot, this amazing campsite right on a lake. It was like this little peninsula out in a lake. And we wanted to know where the sun was. Well, the sun was going to set behind us, but we wanted to know where the moon was going to rise because we knew it was going to be a full moon. And we wanted to check it out. And so he used an app called Sun Surveyor. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. It was kind of like that, actually. He used an app called Sun Surveyor, which I guess in the solar industry is really useful for finding the path of the sun to know how it's going to hit solar on roofs and all this kind of stuff. But it's just a really cool visualization that allows you to, it has a number of different modes, which I'll walk through in a second, but it just really allows you to predict the sun, predict the moon, predict the pattern, like what's happening with the Milky Way. It's just a really good visualization. So this is the 3D compass mode, right? Yeah, this is the 3D compass mode. They always recommend to do the figure 8 to kind of calibrate before you use it. I'm assuming it's going to work for this this demonstration, but so right now I'm facing east, right, and the sun would be setting behind me if I was standing outside. Essentially, it would be right behind me, and it's not quite set. You can see kind of down here the sunrise 6:29 a.m., sunset 7:57. There's other details down here which I don't understand completely, but they have to do with kind of the shadows that they cast at these particular angles, which can be really good for photographers. You've got a little time machine down here, so you can go back in time and find where the sun and the moon were at any given time. If I swipe over here, I've got access to the moon chart, which I can turn off and turn on as need be. Basically play around with that. And then there's dawn and dusk. Some of these things I will fully admit I don't completely understand, but you've got a lot of stuff to play with here as far as that's concerned. And so it became really useful. Like I was like, God, I wonder where, where are we facing? Where's the moon going to come up? And he just pulled up with this app and he's like, well, it's going to go there. This is going to be its path. And he just basically drew it in the sky. And it was just kind of really neat to see that. You can go into map mode. Map overlays the sun and the moon on top of a satellite map. So let's see here. Let's try and go. So I'm going to go ahead and track current location. Here's where we are. If I was standing outside, I'm facing away from Twit, I could see the sun, setting to my right, essentially. And this becomes useful because then you can kind of see like where buildings might get in the way. If you were waiting for a particular type of light, you could see the path of the sun and be able to predict, oh, that building's going to get in the way at this time, or that tree's going to create a shadow, or and you could imagine why that's useful in solar. You want to know the path of the sun, how long it's going to be in direct contact with the solar panels, that sort of stuff. It also has a live view. This is like an AR mode. So when you go outside, you can do the pass-through camera, and this was one of the modes that he used to really determine, to basically like look at the mountains, be like the moon's going to come up over there. And it was just kind of really neat to see that. And again, you can kind of go forward or back in time or come right to live. And it's hard to show in AR mode because it's out of the screen, but you can see kind of the path of everything. When you're outside, it makes a lot more sense.
The sun is behind us where we are right now. It's setting behind us, right?
Hard for me here. I'm only
say that because when I leave here, the sun is in my rearview mirror when I come here.
No, that makes sense. It's hard for me to show that, but yes. And then let's see here. We've also got the ephemeris, which is just basically lots of predictive data on when the golden hour is going to be 6:29 a.m. Sorry, I'll pull this down. 6:29 to 7:26 a.m. in the morning, and in the evening 7 to 8-ish, right around there, when twilight is, and all of these different times as far as when these things hit, but also the moon, the Milky Way, photo opportunities. This is kind of interesting. This is like a list of different events out in space that would be worth like waiting for and
doing
taking
a long
picture
exposure
of,
shot.
Yep, and Milky Way visibility and all that kind of stuff. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in there that you can track. And then finally, Street View, which integrates with Google Map data. Of course, it sees us in Twit right now, which is the old studio. So this is weird. It's not quite working the way it is when I'm normally outside.
Wow.
It's triangulated the fact that I'm at Twit and pulling in Twit information from Google. So this is wrong. But what it normally does is it pulls in like actual Street View data and allows you to basically like see like, oh, that building's going to be behind the sun or in front of the sun, or this is the path of the sun or the moon or whatever. So it's good for photographers, real estate agents, gardeners, Like it can come in handy in a lot of different ways, and I just think it's a really great visualization tool. And like I said, we used it on our trip to predict when the moon would rise. I ended up getting this photo.
Wow.
With the Pixel.
Awesome.
With the Pixel, by the way. So, I mean, it was, right before the moon started appearing there, it was pitch black. Like we had a sky full of stars. And I had my phone set up and ready.
On a tripod?
No, perched on rocks.
Nice.
Yep.
Nature's tripod.
Nature's tripod, exactly. And I had it pointed there, just kind of trusting that's where it was going to be. And sure enough, I got, this and a number of other shots. So I would say this is the best one.
Sight.
Yeah, that's with night sight.
Dang, Google.
So I was
amazing.
Super
That's
happy
great.
with it. So anyways, it's a cool app. It's called Sun Surveyor. There is a light version, which has limited functionality. The version that I showed you is the paid version at $7.99. So it's a little on the pricier side for apps, but I think it's designed incredibly well and it's super useful for a number of reasons. So check it out, Sun Surveyor, Sun and Moon in the Play Store. All right, Ron, I have your app. I'll show it off while you talk about it.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town on Long Island in New York, and one of my favorite pastimes was reading the local paper every week. We had a weekly paper, and there was something called the Police Blotter, and it would show everything that happened in the town that the police were involved in. And being in a sleepy small town on Long Island, you got some amusing things, but it also pointed out that we're unbelievably interested in the world that's going around us, and especially if you live in a major city. Now I'm in New York City, where lots of crime happens on a daily basis, and you're worried about safety and things like that, especially if you're going, from, right now I'm in Manhattan, I'm going to go back to Queens, sometimes I go to Brooklyn, you're traveling around. And in this day and age, phones give us the ability to be connected instantly. And now there's an app called Citizen, which kind of taps into the whole citizen journalism, but as well as awareness of your area. And it is basically a real-time app that monitors police and fire activity. It's currently active. Hang on, I want to pull it up. It's active in the San Francisco Bay Area, which I was curious if it would extend all the way up to you guys, Jason. It looks like it does.
It's San Francisco primarily, a little East Bay.
Yeah.
I did not find anything in Petaluma.
Oh, okay, so you went down to San Francisco. Okay,
Yeah.
So New York City, the Bay Area, Baltimore, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia, and they're expanding soon. So if you're one of those cities, you can check it out. But it sounds like they're expanding pretty quickly. But when you open the app, you see this map, and little red dots are highlights of what things are going on. But then there's also a timeline underneath it that says recent that you can scroll through. Now you tapped on the actual event. So if you go back to just the main screen and untap on that dot.
Oh,
So,
I see.
Oh yeah, just undo that. Yeah,
There we
I don't
go.
know. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and so now if you scroll the recent, you'll see everything. If you scroll the recent bottom part, it will scroll through everything that's happening, and it tells you what happened, where it happened, the address, and then people using the app are taking photos. They are providing comments, and this app also rolled out the ability to go live if you're actually at a location. And sure enough, people are doing that. A lot of times, especially with some of the stuff that happens in the world, seeing what actually is happening firsthand from somebody who is there is a lot different than hearing the report or anything like that. So I just find it fascinating. So it's a combination of know what's going on in the city around you, but also be aware of what's going on if you're going to a part of town and there's major fire activity, or God forbid something happening, if there's a shooting or whatever it is. You could be aware with this app. So in this main screen, on the home screen, it just shows you the most recent one in a timeline format as well as in the map format. If you tap on the bottom lightning bolt in the bottom arrow, it shows you what's trending, which I guess, kind of where the interesting stuff is, all around. So a van engulfed in flames. There's a photo from someone, and there's some video too. See, this is fascinating, right? Isn't this is the world around us, right? And what's really interesting is that there are people like this kind of app is only good if people are using it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking right now in the New York City, and currently right now in the neighborhood I'm in Manhattan, there are 3,961 users nearby. Like that, 4,000 people have this app open and are using it to actively kind of report on what's going on, which I just find amazing. I was on a screen that showed me exactly how many people were in the community. Where is it? Oh yeah, so the neighborhood I'm in currently right now in Manhattan, and for those who know New York City, they break it up into neighborhoods, and there's a whole handful of them. We're currently right now I'm on the Upper East Side, and there are 18,000 people and active users in this neighborhood. And what's also interesting, actually, Jason, if you can tap, go back to the home screen, okay, and scroll all the way back up to the top. All the way to the top. It doesn't show your neighborhood, does it? Oh, I guess Oh, that's weird. Go back to. There you go. 18 nearby. That's Santa Rosa. Yeah, wait. Go to the lightning bolt. Then I'm trying to see if I can get to the same screen. Let's see, lightning bolt. Let's see, New York City. No, okay, I can't see. Well, I found a screen in New York City that lets you that would tell me exactly how many people are using the app, but then also keeps track of the number of incidents. So, for example, there's been 231 incidents in this neighborhood in the last 30 days, which is higher than month over month, and 65 of those incidents had live video, which is interesting. So wow. It's really cool. You can stay in touch with your local community, see what's going on, keep yourself and your friends and your family safe. Citizen, it's free in the Google Play Store. San Francisco, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Los Angeles, and it's coming to more cities soon. So,
wow, this is fascinating,
isn't it?
Yeah.
I just can't believe the number of people using it.
Yeah, no
kidding. That's what I couldn't believe. It's got over 500,000 installs on the Google Play Store, and who knows what's going on the iOS side. I just didn't realize it resonated with this many users this quickly. So good for them. I mean, this could be a real handy tool. I'm going to keep it in. A lot of these apps we talk about in the arena, I don't necessarily keep installed, but I'm going to keep this one installed.
Yeah. So. It's also kind of a little depressing to a little bit, yeah. Kind of go into, what's going on. It's never good news. There's never any good news in here. That's called Citizen. Very interesting design, and the fact that there's so much activity. See, if you go up here, you can see all the different service areas. Yeah. You can select it and dive in and see what's going on. Yeah, very really interesting. Citizen. Cool. All right. Flo, you got the next one.
All right. So before we go to my overhead, I would like to introduce my app. So Jason and I kind of brought somewhat similar apps to the arena today.
Unplanned.
Not totally similar. So his is more about knowing the direction of the sun and the moon. This one I found because in my bedroom, I have bay windows that overlook kind of a field. And my husband and I sometimes, it's really a thing he likes to do. He got me onto it, which is to stargaze when the night sky is clear. And in the summer, we've been blessed with a clear night sky. So I have to type the app in because
you're using your minimal launcher.
I'm using my minimal launcher. So the app that I brought in is called Night Shift. Now, this is not an app that turns your screen yellow. This is actually an app to help you stargaze. Let me bring down the brightness on that. There we go. There you go. So this is an app to help you stargaze. It is best used with a telescope, but I don't have a telescope. So this is just, this app also helps folks who want to just look out the window or look up to see what they can see that night. So tonight's viewing is going to be fair conditions. It's been pretty cloudy this morning, so I imagine that tonight the clouds will roll back in, making it kind of hard to look up. The best time to look out tonight will be, so this is of course location based, so this is based right now on our Petaluma location. So the best time to look up would be between 10 and 10:53 p.m. is going to be the best time to try and do any sort of stargazing. And of course there's a note, weather forecasts are uncertain, so they're likely to change it, just a caveat. I'll talk to you later. There's also a little card that tells you when to expect the sun. So the sun it rose today at 6:29. It will set at 7:57. The day's length, we had a 13-hour and 28-minute day. It will tell you the darkness. So the darkest time that you can expect tonight here would be between 9:33 and 10:53, hence the stargazing that it suggested. So actually, what I learned from this app is that darkness is not an all-night thing. There's a lot of things I don't really know about the sky, and I like apps that sort of help me learn some gaps of information there. So. And of course, when we'll be able to see the moon. So we can actually see the moon. We were able to see it since 11 this morning. Or excuse me, we were able to see it before 11. It went down to wherever the moon goes.
It goes into the ground.
Obviously, I never took an astronomy class, so
the moon sets into the dirt,
yes,
and then it comes up out of the other side of the earth through the dirt.
Yes,
that's what it does.
Exactly. And so we can expect it to rise back up at 10:53, and that's when that darkness is going to end, because the moon will come up and it will light up the sky. At a glance, we'll be able to see 4 planets tonight. We'll be able to see Jupiter in excellent condition, visible from 8:30 p.m. We'll be able to see Saturn. I imagine this is a lot easier to see with a telescope. Now, we have done what we've called, quote unquote, nerd camping, which is when you go camp and your friend with the nice, expensive telescope lets everybody look through it and see things. So if you really want to look at some planets, I would suggest getting a telescope. Although from my experience, Venus and Mars can be seen with the naked eye. So, but unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to be seeing those tonight. Tonight we'll be able to see 2 meteor showers, the Perseids,
yes,
which is active until the 24th of August, and the K Cygnids. I don't know a lot of these, but I am excited to have this information at my fingertips. And then you also get phases of the moon, which is super helpful. It'll tell you the different phases of the moon. Oh, look, our observing conditions have gotten a little bit better here in Petaluma. You have some information on the clouds, the humidity. Over here, we have a pull-out menu. In the pull-out menu, this just lets you go deeper into, okay, so we want to just specifically see when the moon is coming out. Here you can see a little graph. There's a little information bubble to kind of let you know maths. So this is not something I use. I just like to use the visual component that just says green or red. Green meaning
yes or
meaning
no.
Look up, or red means don't bother. That's what I like to use for that. The nice thing about this is it'll tell you if you will be able to see it with it. Obviously, the moon is the thing that you can see. So it also tell you binoculars and then different opticals. So if you have a 80 millimeter telescope, or if you have a 20 millimeter, or if you're super fancy and you have the 300 millimeter, that'll let you know. And also lets you know the rest of the week's forecast in case you're trying to have people over or something, or maybe you want to plan a romantic night of sky gazing. You can do it this way. Let me just try other planets just really quickly. So I was saying Mars. So let's look at Mars. No observation opportunities tonight. Wah, wah, wah. That's a bummer. But apparently the naked, so this tells you kind of overall like when you'll be able to see it. So Mars, usually you can see it with the naked eye. What's another planet? Saturn, just very quickly. Tonight we'll be able to see it. Also apparently very easy to see with the naked eye. I just like that this app gives me some information that I don't otherwise know how to get. I have used it staring out the window, and I found it to be accurate in that sense. There's also observation locations. So if you are traveling places, if you're in Nevada, in Baker, Nevada, it'll let you know about the observations there. So if you're going camping, you can find out what the observations will be like when you're there.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, there's an astronomical clock. which is how I check in on UTC time. Yeah.
That'll work.
That works.
Yeah.
So, because my husband and I were talking about how, anyway, there's some settings which lets you use weather data, how often it renews. So this renews every 3 hours after 1 day. You can enable notifications, which I don't have. The visibility for me is most important with the naked eye because that's how I look at things. So it's just, a helpful app if you would like to do some easy stargazing from your window. And I found it to be useful. And as a result, it's an app that stays on my phone. So, and we, as Jason mentioned, we have a culture here of stargazing. So, because you can go out and find actual darkness.
Yes.
And be able to look up. And
sometimes it's not easy to find the absolute
sometimes you
darkness,
have to drive like 2 hours to find
get
it.
there,
but you
and
can
it's
get
worth it.
there, and then you realize that you were really not alone in this world, and you start to have an existential crisis.
It's
That's
amazing.
what happens to me when I go camping. So night shifts, stargazing and astronomy. The icon that is used on the phone is actually different than this icon that is shown here in the Play Store. So
okay. All right.
me.
Good to know.
Me.
Night shift. Okay, so it's time to vote for your
Yes.
favorite app this week. twit.to/AAA poll 434 is where you can go. Hopefully that link works. twit.to/AAA poll 434. Place your vote for your favorite app. Is it Sun Surveyor, Citizen, or Night Shift? Let us know, and we'll check in on it next week. Victor is doing his circle-y thing where he hovers. Sun Surveyor gets the vote, gets the Victor
There it
vote.
is.
Victor wants that golden hour. He wants those golden hour photos.
Yeah.
Magic eye. He wants the good lighting. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good for photography.
Yes.
Yep.
Indeed. twit.to/AAA poll 434. And with that, we have reached the end of another episode of All About Android. The end of the 434th episode, in fact.
Wow.
But no one's counting. We're not counting, except that
So
we
we'll
are.
be into episode 500 next year.
Yeah.
We're
When's
gonna
that
plan our
happen?
show.
We'll have to...
In 20...
we'll have to check that out and see when that is. And,
Can't do
because a nice round number, you got to celebrate at least a little bit. Last time we celebrated, we talked about it earlier in the show. We had all the hosts and TDs from Christmas past who visited
That was
us.
fun.
Who knows what'll happen on episode 500 whenever that happens to be.
Gremlins.
What, Victor? Oh, I thought I heard you. What do you have to say, Victor? Now I'm just going to ask you.
Speaking of TD's past, hi, Josh. Josh is in our chat.
Yes.
Yeah, Josh
good
is
call.
creeping in the chat room.
The Mac and Josh is creeping along in the chat room, and
He's not a creep, even though he's Mac and Josh.
yeah, whatever. I don't think he's on Mac anymore. In fact, I'm going to start a wild rumor and just say I think he switched to Android and he uses Chrome OS for all of his podcast production work.
There it is. Android
That's what he does.
and Josh.
Yep, Android. The Android Josh.
LA is a harsh place.
Yeah. So that's it. Flo, what's going on in your world other than your lovely sweater? What is going on?
So if you go to review.com and you look for budget gaming laptops under $1,000, the updates there were facilitated. I helped facilitate those updates. So if you'd like to check those out, I did an update to my website today with some things that I missed that I've posted over the past couple of months. So if you go to florenceion.com, you can check that out. It also turns out that I have a plugin that's been broken that I didn't realize. But you know what? I'm just me. I'm just my own media empire. So
I'm just me.
I'm just me. But other than that, just working on things behind the scenes. Keep looking at Flow Feed for that. And if you don't already know, I also have another podcast on the Relay FM network called Material.
It's true.
About Google, where Andy and Natko and I dive in every week. So please check that out if you're interested.
You should.
Yeah, because,
There's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, there is a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
I often talk about Jason and Ron on that podcast.
Oh, now I got to listen to another podcast just to hear me being talked about?
Oh, man, again.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. And you know where to follow me. And stay tuned because I will be returning to streaming. I'm working
Streaming
on
on
Twitch.
On Twitch.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
No, I'm not going to Mixer.
Okay. That would be news, by the way, if you did.
Would be news.
Too much work. I can only do one at a time, people.
Understood. Thank you, Flo. What about you, Ron?
Not much. Just trying to stay cool. You can follow me on Twitter at RonXO, and on Instagram I'm at RonXO there as well too. Staying cool, working, raising babies, and working on Scorebit. You can go to scorebit.io where you can check out my fun connected pinball project that we're working on. Making a lot of really cool progress. Should have some cool stuff to announce this coming up this fall. So stay tuned there.
Radical. Yay for Scorebit. By the way, Cousin of Ja put in chat 66 weeks from now, which would be episode 500 if we don't skip a week, is November 24th, 2020. That is 2 days before Thanksgiving of next year.
All right.
So
That's doable.
We should have a feast.
We will give our thanks. I'm saying it right now. We probably will have a segment where we give our thanks
With an Android-shaped turkey.
What are we thankful for in Android? Just that episode's already writing itself.
And listen, I'm going to be thankful for the wonderful foldable phones that are now upon us, that are that work and don't break and are amazing.
Yeah, at Thanksgiving of next year, we will all be praising the foldable phones that have literally replaced every phone in the entire world.
They changed our world. They changed our universe.
Everything. Yes. Yeah. They don't even make TVs anymore because you've got a foldable phone.
And we'll all have Bobby Brown haircuts by that time. Because they'll be
Not
back.
me. Yeah. I'm not. You know how long it took me to grow this hair? Heck no.
Well, I think by then you will have changed your mind.
We'll see about
Just
that.
a prediction. I don't make a lot of predictions, but I think that's a certainty. Victor, thank you, man. Thank you as always. Appreciate your help. And thanks to Burke and Jeff also for helping out here in the studio. And thanks to you for watching. We always appreciate you watching, because if you didn't, we wouldn't have
And
a show.
listening, for those who listen to the audio-only podcast.
That is true. More of you listen than watch. Leave us a voicemail, 347-SHOW-AAA. Send us emails at AAA@twit.tv. Find us on Twitter. We are at Android Show. You can find our Arena apps list at twit.to/Android apps. There you'll find every app that we've brought into the Arena. We appreciate the folks who work hard to keep that up to date. Show notes and past episodes at twit.tv/AAA. That's the one place that you can go to find subscribe links for all the different, podcatchers out there, audio links, video links, every single episode. You can watch it embedded in the player there. You can link out to YouTube. We don't want to tell you how to enjoy All About Android. We just want to give you the tools so that you can. Options. And you can find that at twit.tv/AAA. And catch us live starting at 5 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday at twit.tv/live. And that's it for this episode of All About Android. We'll see you next week on another one. See you then. Bye.